And everything that isn't working in your life will come right on up there. Or as Eckhart Tolle says, that's when the pain body comes up. The pain body comes up. And each of us has our own version of the pain body. And guys, it is not your job to hang around and be flailed by someone's pain body. You have my permission to say, honey, you take a bath, sweetie. Whatever you need to do, I'll be back. You know, I'm going to go out for a while, as long as it takes. If it's a week, you know, I'm going hunting, whatever. We women need to own that we are needing to digest our own pain body, not project it onto someone else. That's the I can't do it that Susie was talking about. But when you're in the midst of it, when it's PMS time or PMS writ large, perimenopause, that's everything that isn't working in your life, that is not supporting you as a leader, as a powerful being, will come up and hit you between the eyes. And it's supposed to be like that because you're in labor with yourself. Now remember what I said to you. We now have a cesarean section rate in this country that's 50%. In Brazil, it's nearly 100%. And in many third world countries, it's approaching 80, 90, 100%. One of my daughter's friends just moved to Laredo, Texas. Her husband works with the DEA or whatever the guys at the border who do the drug stuff. Anyhow, she's pregnant and she went to the nearest clinic and they said to her, would you like to choose your date for an induction or would you like a cesarean section? What? What? You know, there's a delicate dance between the baby's pituitary gland and your pituitary gland that determines when labor is supposed to start. And I don't think labor is supposed to start when your mother can make a flight on United to Omaha. Yeah. And, you know, in New York City, of course, it's insane. I could tell the minute I landed here, you guys were like a lot more sane. Your host committee is like, you women are, you just are rock stars here. And I knew it. Plus, those shoes are so good. You know, they're so good. And so, you know, if I said in New York City that the time for labor to start is not when your mother can make it on a flight, I might have been booed, because they live like that, with the crackberries and that you've got to schedule it. And if you talk about that there's something to be learned from labor, it's like, are you kidding me? You know, there's some truth to that movie, The Devil Wears Prada, the role that Meryl Streep played. That's a woman so far removed from the wisdom of her body, so far removed. So how does the wisdom of your body come through? It comes through in the processes of the body. Premenstrually, you're more apt to cry at what has meaning for you. Do you know how I chose OBGYN as a field? I was in med school, saw a baby born in my rotation. I had a mask on, you know, surgical mask. I'm up there at Dartmouth. It's up in Hanover, New Hampshire in the North Woods, very good school. And I see the baby born, one of the homeliest couples I've ever seen before, since. This is really true. And when the baby was born, I was so moved, I nearly fell to my knees with tears. Just like, you know, when you're just so moved, you just don't know what to do. Some of you may have felt that way, I don't know, during the inauguration. There were moments there where you just felt moved by something much bigger than yourself. And I was so glad that I had the mask on, because back then I was told, you're taking the place of a man. You know, you being here takes the place of someone who's really going to do the work. I was told that. And what I love now is a lot of those people are dead. This is where I bring out, the Elton John song, I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, when we started Women to Women, the clinic that I co-founded with a couple nurse practitioners back in '85, the men in the community, and I loved them. God loved them. I did. And they would say, only women? You're opening a center for women run by women? Isn't that a little imbalanced? I mean, that 99.9% of the people who take care of women are men. Don't you think that's a little imbalanced? There was an interesting feminist named Dale Spender who did some research back in the 70s in England with academic people. And so she was working in the women's studies department or whatever department, and she wanted to see, because our perception about power is determined by our culture and by what we've been taught and by language and so on. And so what she did to do research, and I love this research, she simply put a tape recorder in the faculty lounge and then let it go for a day or two. She did this over a course of about a month. And then at the end, she simply recorded the number of times that women spoke and the number of times that men spoke. In other words, total time, okay, of 100% of the time. Okay, the most that a woman ever spoke in a mixed gender meeting of professors was 30% of the time. That was the most, but this was the perception. A woman who spoke 30% of the time was perceived by both men and women as taking up all of the space. When she only spoke 30% of the time, she was considered someone who was taking up way too much space. If you're going to be a leader, you're going to have to take up space. You're also going to have to do some things, like you go into your doctor who says, would you like a planned cesarean? I don't think so. Can we induce you? I think you're 2 days overdue. I don't think so. You are going to have to learn the skills of tuning in to your power. And then the minute you feel something that may be uncomfortable, you need to understand that divinity comes to you through your body. And so you must learn, to some extent, to be with the normal processes of your body, including the need to cry, the need to move, the need to breathe fully, but mostly the need to weep. Now, I was told that this town was settled by Irish Catholic people. Is that correct? So how many people do we have in the audience with an Irish Catholic background? I just want to check it out here. Okay. All right. That's quite a few. When I did my training in St. Margaret's Hospital for Women in Boston, which was an Irish Catholic hospital, I was very proud of something that I had done with a cancer patient. And so I'm talking about it to a nurse coordinator. And she says to me, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. How many of you with an Irish Catholic background were ever taught to never blow your own horn? Was anyone ever taught that? Don't ever blow your own horn. Don't ever, ever say anything good about yourself. Well, that's good. That's stopped. They did an interesting study a while back on college infirmaries to determine who came first to the infirmary and who came in last when they were at death's door. Okay, Jewish people came first. I don't know why, but this is just what happened. The Jewish people came first. They were a little neurotic in this particular study. You know who dragged themselves into the clinic when they were pretty near death? The Irish Catholics, always. Because they had been taught that suffering and martyrdom was a virtue. So if any of you have been taught that suffering and martyrdom buys you something, get over it. Get over it. It buys you nothing. Here's an example. You see this all the time in women's non-health, okay? Okay, a funeral of a 51-year-old mother. And I think right up there, you know how you do the slideshows these days? The production values have gotten way better on funerals, in my opinion. No, really, I think a good event should always be produced, you know, and I'm thinking that I should probably be planning my funeral now, telling the girls what I would like to have, because, you know, it should be a good party. Because I really just think you recycle and you don't die, so who cares? But anyway, in this particular funeral, they had, she was a good woman. She always put everyone's needs before her own. And she died at 52. And in the pictures that were shown, okay, you start with a little kid. Little kids are very close to God, and they're close to the original template of what we're supposed to be. 2-year-olds, right? They think everything is fun, and they tell you what they're feeling, and they're hilarious, right? And they're exasperating because they don't do what they're told, too. That's true, too. Okay, so every year there was a picture of her, and she's bright and shiny, and she's shiny, and she's shiny, and then she gets married. And she's more in the background, and she's more in the background, and more in the, until she was like really overweight and puffy in the background. So you could see the trajectory of her life. I'd like you to reverse that trajectory.